Howard Schultz went on Morning Joe on MSNBC to have a little bit of a temper tantrum about the fact that people are criticizing him over his proposals if he does run as an independent candidate for president in 2020. Now, Elizabeth Warren has gone after him, mostly because he wants to protect his tax cuts. That seems to be the only thing that he's really been pushing for since he mentioned that he's flirting with running. And so he feels like he's the real victim here. He feels like he's being unfairly demonized. Without putting words in his mouth, let's take a look at what he had to say on MSNBC.
I've also been criticized for being a billionaire. Let's talk about that. I'm self-made. I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, New York. I thought that was the American dream, the aspiration of America. You're going to criticize me for being successful when in my company over the last 30 years, the only company in America that gave comprehensive health insurance, equity in the form of stock options, and free college tuition, and Elizabeth Warren wants to criticize me for being successful? No.
So this is a trick that I see from right-wingers all the time. Oh, they want to demonize us and punish us because we're successful and we're rich. No, I don't begrudge you for being wealthy. I had no bones to pick with you previously. But I do have a problem when you have taken advantage of taxpayer subsidized programs to become as wealthy as you are, and then you shut that door right behind you as soon as you are a billionaire, right? So congratulations on being a billionaire. I'm proud of you, right? But how about keeping opportunities open for younger generations so they can also climb up that economic ladder? So what do I mean when I say he took advantage of taxpayer subsidized programs? So first of all, everyone does in the form of roads, bridges, you get the picture, police, firefighters, but he went to a public high school, public grade schools. He went to Northern Michigan University. Again, that is a public university, taxpayer subsidized. His family was poor, and so when he was living in Brooklyn with his mom and dad, they were in subsidized housing, New York City Housing Authority. And so you took advantage of programs that are needed by the disadvantaged, they're funded by taxpayers, and then now, after you're done taking advantage of those programs, you essentially are pushing to gut them through these tax cuts for the wealthy. So that's why you're being criticized. You're not being criticized because you're successful, and you're not a victim. You are not a victim. There are people right now who are homeless in the middle of this, polar vortex, and they're like dying from the cold, but you're the real victim? You're gonna go on MSNBC in your privileged position and talk about how you're being demonized and how you're the real victim. Please spare me.
These billionaires are such special little snowflakes.
So soft.
I mean, speaking of the polar vortex, right? Maybe that's why we have it, because these billionaires are just creating a blizzard of self-pity. So first of all, let me challenge the idea that they are being punished. Taxes is not punishment. It is how we work together as a community. It is what led to all those public programs that you took advantage of. And I'm glad you did. And again, it's great that you went from poor to being successful. It's good that you were good to your employees. And by the way, that's a smart business strategy. So you get credit for being a smart business person, but it doesn't mean that you're benevolent, right? And not everybody in the country works for Starbucks, so that's a whole nother point. But the main point is, it is not punishment. What we have to decide together as a society is, what is the proper tax rate that leads to maximum utility? So that doesn't mean maximum utility for the poor or the middle class, but screw the rich. It means no, what is gonna create a society that is gonna create the best economic outcomes that actually lifts all boats. Don't give me this trickle-down economics nonsense where we give everything to the rich and then hope that at some point they give us decent coffee. Okay, so no, it's not punishment, it's just rational policy. But you, in your entitlement now and in your privilege, assume that you should have very, very low taxes, historically low taxes. And then when we say, hey, maybe we should go back to a tax rate that created the greatest economic boom in this country's history, you go, oh, you're punishing me. Why are you punishing me for doing well? No, we're just trying to get to a situation where other people also have that economic opportunity. And finally, let me use the example of my dad. So my dad was a dirt poor farmer in southeastern Turkey. And in that case, it was a different country that gave him an opportunity. In Turkey, he got to have a free public college education. And it made all the difference. He became a mechanical engineer, set up companies like Howard Schultz. Now, he's not a billionaire. He's not anywhere near as quote unquote as successful, certainly not as rich as Howard Schultz. But he also lived the American dream in his own way. He had a wonderful life and created this great opportunity for me, my sister, and all of our grandkids, etc. Right? But unlike Howard Schultz, he doesn't turn around and go, "Why are you punishing me?" He says, "Oh, thank God for that public education that I got, the free education that I got. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been anything, and that's why I'm a progressive." So there is a different way that you could perceive that. And he also, and this is really important, and he recently wrote a book. It's not out yet. And I interviewed him on this show. And look, it's a story I know obviously because he's my dad, but he gives credit to all the people that made it possible. The whole idea of self-made is a misnomer. If his uncle didn't allow him to live rent-free in Istanbul, he couldn't have gone to that free school anyway because he had no money. If everybody didn't chip in, if his friend Bob Madden hadn't helped him when he came to school for graduate school here in America, he might not have been able to make it. And the list goes on and on and on. Nobody's ever truly self-made.
Exactly.
And for people to turn around and make it seem like it was only them, it's a little gross.
It is. Every single one of us can look back at our successes in life, and there are always people behind the scenes who have helped us out in one way or the other, whether it's someone writing a letter of recommendation for us, someone serving as a great educator. There's an army of people behind every success story. And I just hate hearing people say things like, "I'm self-made." It's not all about you. Yes, you've worked hard, you deserve credit for that. But don't take credit away from all the people who helped you get there, including the taxpayers.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.